Hi there, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully you're getting something out of these videos. It's some little tip or just a laugh, but please like and subscribe if anything is grabbing your attention. So what we're doing in this video, well, we definitely got the wiring to sort out, all down by the starter motor, etc. And of course the electric handbrake. And if that doesn't take too long, then possibly we'll get onto maybe front bumper or something else. So obviously the title has given this away, so let's get in and have a look, see what's going on. All right, so just briefly, I just wanted to show my flexi lines I got made up by Merlin Motorsport. So this one's just a 10cm long, going on a 1/4 inch clutch line there to a banjo there. So you need to be asking for the correct fittings, but I didn't need too long. And then just over here I've got another fitting on the other end of the clutch line, so same deal, and it goes up to a banjo there. Shorter bolt needed on that fitting, I think, and that's a little bit longer, but length doesn't increase the price too much. It's more the cost of the fittings, so get those made up. Now back to the wiring. So I'm just extending the accelerator pedal wiring here. So all pretty simple. I needed about another 35 to 40 centimeters just to get round. So I cut it in a staggered fashion so that I didn't have a big bulk of kind of connectors, those solder connectors, all in one spot, so I can still get it into the split covering here. So I'm just tidying that away, and I'll be able to put it over the top of the dash steering column and then plug it into the accelerator. So let's have a look at how that's going. Okay, so we're all plugged in there, fairly anticlimactic. I did have to take out the wing mirror so I could pass the cable over this, because the connector wouldn't squeeze in between the body and the shell, the metalwork there, so no problem at all, and that's in. So this is the bundle of wires that's all going to be going through the little hole down there as soon as I get my grommet. If that doesn't arrive soon, I'm going to have to come up with another solution, maybe just a bit of a silicone tube or something. So we're going to leave that for a sec, and we find ourselves at the handbrake. So this is the diagram I've drawn. So you've got all the connections here. So you've got two here, one, two, one up here, a couple here and a couple here. You've got an adjustment there, which apparently you won't need, because AK, I understand, seal this unit away behind the door, sort of in a door card here. And I've under-nerd whether I'm going to do the same. I've even got a cover to go over this that I bought on eBay. This is something like 10 by 6 centimeters exactly. So I have bought a cover, and I had a plan of installing the cover with the wires coming into it, and this sealing over the top, all the other way around, just maybe fixing this. But I was worried, you know, I was going to fit it out here behind the seat perhaps, so that we could get to the adjustment, but I don't think we need to. I mean, pads wear very slowly. This is only the handbrake, and you know, even if the pads wore 4 or 5 mil, then I think the handbrake is able to take up that small amount of slack when left on the setting. So we are also going to hopefully just set it up somewhere here. I'm not sure how really, but you know, after it's all trimmed and in, you're not getting to it again. So I'll see where the best fitting solution is, and then we'll do all the connections. All right, so just to confirm, this red blue is not separate. This top one is red/blue, and this bottom one is brown, as per the actual diagram from AK. So we've got that all plumbed in there, and I am in two minds as to whether I need a cover on there or not. It's going to be pretty happy in there once I've velcroed, stuck it, you know, just a half an inch up here, I guess. I've got the box here. I guess I could pass all the cables through a hole and put it over the top. It's got no attachment on it, so I'd have to just put a you know, roll of masking tape around it or something, electrical tape, just to hold it in there. But I'm not sure if there is actually much point. So I think we'll leave it as it is for now. Here we go, finally from China, my new grommets have arrived, nice and wide, so they're definitely going to bridge between the stainless steel and the fiberglass. Just got two different sizes, just with a few mil in between. So I'm just going to see which one fits in the hole and then see if I can fit all the cables through it, otherwise I'll have to go up one. So let's have a look. So there we go. I'm sorry to show you jobs already done, but I'd love to be able to afford some sort of head cam or chest cam so I can actually show you this in a kind of real time or speed it up or something. So I'm just going to drop the camera down there and hopefully you can still see what's going on here. Hopefully I've got all the connections on right, basically everything on the big one. I will just confirm that. So we've got the two wires on the right that have to go onto the big connector, and also the big positive all the way from the battery. I am going to just check, certainly that white does go on that little spade. I'm just going to check if that other connector definitely goes on the big terminal, or whether it should go on that smaller bottom one. But I think it all goes on top one. Please double check, because I'm not going to go back and show you this. That grommet worked out. Had to spend 10 minutes just grinding that with a right angled drill. Finally sort of opened up enough, and I've got to say it's awesome. It's really hard to find those deeper grommets, and this was just awesome. So if you're going to get one, order it early from China. It took about 20 days. So we're all looking pretty tidy in here. Got a little bit of slack, which is good for the trimmers, just to push the cables into the corners and stuff. So we're all having a fairly good time. So I've just been on the phone to Can-Ems, and I'll probably show you again when it's all plugged in. But just briefly, of course, you've got to power the fuel pump. So you don't use the you don't use the AK fuel pump wires, because this is for your old school engines. And that was the same with the previous car as well. But luckily, there's such a length on here, I'm actually going to use this wire and conduit. So I'm just going to cut that off and make sure it can't touch anything. And then I'm going to use them. What you need to do, you need to find the relay, the Can-Ems relay that only has two wires going into it. And basically, 87 is pump positive. So bundled with the Can-Ems is a couple of little terminals. Use the terminals that have the little clip on the back, so they can't pull back out. And 87 goes to fuel pump positive, and the other one, 30, goes to 12 volt supply. Now luckily AK have got one, and it's this one, not a switched 12, it's the permanent 12, so you can wire that straight in to the relay that only has two wires in it at the moment. So that's all happening. So the 87 is going to the positive on the actual pump, and then you just earth the negative. It's up to you if you do that right next to it on the chassis. Personally, I bring it all the way back up, so I'm going to use both of these wires here, and I'm just going to come back up here and earth it on the scuttle here with some other earths. So that's good. And then the only other thing is white does need to go to the rev counter. So on that bundle of wires, you only really need the white out of there. Well, we used the green already, right, for the fan, and the white goes to the rev counter. So I'm going to have to take the white over here to this bundle, make another little single connector that can connect straight into the rev counter on the back of the dash. Whew. All right, so I'm about to finish up this wiring part of the video, I think. So these two browns, okay, so the brown white goes to the oil pressure sender unit, and the brown black here goes to the light section. So they just I'm just going to shorten them and bang them up to there. Purple black will not be used. That's just like a switched positive or something. It's just spare. You may have needed to use it on an older Rover V8, and that's the reason that this leg actually comes into the engine bay, but it's actually not needed on a new engine. Again, this and this goes for the same with this pink. This pink actually needs to go to the white wire on the Can-Ems unit, because this sends out the pulses, or the pink sends out the pulses from or to the rev counter. So the pink needs to go to that. So I could pull that all the way back through and into the dash. What I'm actually going to do is take it out of the conduit about here and go back up into the dash there. I think I have another wire to go back up there as well. I need to just double check that. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I needed to inquire about the wires here for the alternator. We no longer need, apparently, this exciter wire for the alternator. We're just going to be doing the main thick red to the main pin on the alternator. That means that you no longer have a charging light, a battery light on the dashboard, which is quite handy because I can now use that space that I drilled out for the handbrake light switch light. So that's cool. So yeah, but of course you will know when the engine is on because the oil pressure light, I think, comes on. So apparently that's the very latest. It's all changed a little bit with this new loom from Can-Ems. So no need for blue, just the red. So that's all good. Now I may be tucking this red, instead of having it coming around to the engine bay, that's what I was going to do. I was going to tuck the red back up into here. I did this on my previous car, all the way along inside, and then up above the top of the passenger legs, and I'm just going to have it popping out nice and neat. I'm going to have it popping out about here and going straight 8 inches straight into the alternator. So that's what I'm going to do, so I don't have this going all the way along. Now this water pressure cable was extremely long and coming out on another little leg around here. No need for that, so I've taken that back out of the conduit. I'm actually going to cut it off about here, put it back into a short bit of conduit, straight to my water temp. And I need to make a little earth for that as well. I'm hoping just to do an earth on an eye and put it on the back of the engine. But that makes it nice and neat. So hopefully these long lengths of conduit aren't needed. Bang that straight up, back up into there, around the back of the dash. And I think we're all set. So I can just cut off that purple. Again, I'll fish that purple out a bit lower down and cut it off. And that pink to the white on the Can-Ems. So I do believe we are all set then with the engine area, and then I'm just going to be under the car just wiring up the fuel pump and the tails on the gearbox. Gosh, I'm so done with this wiring. Let's have a look here. So water temp, fed that, connected that to the red and orange, I believe, and then earthed it. Handy 6mm there. Handy 8mm for the P-clip, just to hold the whole wiring loom just away from the engine for a bit more airflow. Thick red wire that was meant to go all the way around to the alternator, so I fed that back up through and came out of the passenger section there, straight onto the back of the alternator, so that keeps it all a lot neater. There was a pink as well, so that was to go to the Can-Ems ECU, just connect with the white, which I've done there. We'll tidy that up into something conduit soon. And just done my wires into the relay there. So remember, you have to do that to power the pump. So that needs some power. So I'm going to hook that up to the spare permanent 12 there, and then the other side goes into some conduit out here and goes down towards the fuel pump. So that's all I got left to do is get under the car, do fuel pump, reverse. No, we've done the reverse. The sort of synchro mesh bit and the fuel pump and the pulse that goes to the connection that goes to the Can-Ems for the pulses, and I'm going to tee into that so we can also take it to my speedo as well, so that can be programmed. So let's get under the car. Here we are under the car. Not much to see really. This is the reverse connection, so that goes to your reverse light, activates your reverse light, and then up here, right, so that top one is the from the Can-Ems to that connector, and that is detects the pulses and the speed for the Can-Ems, and then I've teed off that just one connection to the speedo, so that can receive the pulses, and then we can program that. And then that bottom connector, that's the tail that I haven't used before. It's all pre kind of wired in there, and it just hangs about 6 inches long. So I've cut the connector off that, and I've put the Can-Ems connector on that, and that activates the reverse solenoid, or it helps the synchro mesh for reversing, and turns on a solenoid or something like that. So let's see how that works. But basically, it all the wires just disappear back up there, and that's it. And then I've taken the fuel pump wires, and because the fuel lines were already laid and they're riveted in place, I've just gone ahead and zip tied all the way along, nice and tidily, I hope. The positive from the Can-Ems relay, and that you have, and it is marked positive, and there's a negative mark hard pressed just above there. So this is the positive, and then that's an earth that I've run, and I've just run that back to inside the car, and I'll be earthing that with a few other earths. So hopefully we're all in good shape. There we go, so the underside of the car is all done. Quite pleased with all of that. Inside the engine, I think, is now all done. I've got both manifolds on, so CO2 or lambda sensors are all in there. So we're all good here. Getting this manifold in is pretty painful. You might have to undo the gear stick or even pull it out and then reinsert sort of halfway of getting the manifold in, and leave it loose while you do everything else up tight. But we're all in there. Got my air pipes on, so that's all good. Now the only other wiring, I think, we've got an immobilizer to put in. I can't show you the wiring of that because, you know, we don't want to tell everyone how to disable it. It looks pretty scary, but you'll be cutting a lot of these cables down to about 6 inches, and you don't need all of the connections. So last things to do, I've got a couple of fly leads here that I need for the USB point, which I've got coming out of my glove box, which will be about here. So I've got short leads going into the yellow. I'll put a bit of heat shrink over the red if it's not needed. So I've got a couple of earths for the USB, and I've got a earth here. So I'm just going to join them all together and earth them all on one ring terminal. So that's fine. Obviously the wiper needs to slide in, and that will just plug in quite obviously to the cable that's there's only one cable, I think, hanging loose. There we go. And that plugs in, well, a bit awkwardly into the back of that. I always do that loosely, or connect it all up loosely, just in case you need to slide the wiper out again, if you need to adjust the little ramp inside the gearing to make the wipers stop correctly. Electric handbrake mounted on some double-sided sort of foam rubber. So we'll see how that goes. And I think kind of one of the last things to do are the indicator stalks. So I've just completed the indicator, and I've yet to do the wash wipe. It's fairly easy. You've got instructions here telling you if you've got an E30 or E34 steering column. I've got an E34. You can suss it out. You can see what wires you've got available. So it's all quite easy. There is a double up. There's a green, yellow mentioned twice, but it says which pin it is, 5 or 10. And if you look real carefully, there should be some markings. I couldn't find a 5, but I found a 10. So process of elimination. And the other wires you don't use, so a bit of heat shrink over there tucked out of the way, just in case. I didn't want to cut them too short. And you put your horn in there as well. So that's one side done. So let me get the wash wipe out here for you to look at. Right, finishing up the wash wipe cables here. Now they're all labelled fine until you get to your last 3. You're looking for a black white from here, and there isn't one. And you're meant to use the black slate. So the black slate goes into your black white down here. And the other 2 wires here are not used. Now you'll wonder why there's 6 connections on the AK side in the little plug coming out from the AK loom. Well, you can see here that this black slate from the AK loom is not used. All right, so hopefully that clears that up. So black slate takes the place of the black white here into the black white there. Man, I'm done with the wiring. And if you've managed to watch this all the way through, then well done. It's probably harder going than the build. So join me next time. I'm going to be doing the front bumper, exhaust fitting, and definitely first start. I'll see you again.
Like a drug that